So we start. Welcome back, everyone, to our regular Tuesday operations update on Libya. As you know, the NATO Secretary General is in the United States, meeting with government officials, U.S. troops, and National Guardsmen. Today, he's in Austin, in Texas. He's there in the United States to express his appreciation to the U.S. service personnel who have contributed to NATO-led operations, including in Afghanistan and in Libya. In a speech he gave at the World Affairs Council of Atlanta, Georgia, yesterday, the Secretary General stressed that time is running out for the Gaddafi regime. In the Secretary General's absence in Brussels, I can tell you that the Deputy Secretary General, Ambassador Bisogniero, will chair the NAC tomorrow with our operational partners to exchange views on our operation in Libya. This meeting is part of our regular discussions, the regular discussions that ambassadors have every week to assess progress in our mission. Before I hand over to Brigadier General Claudio Gabellini, the Chief Operations Officer for Operations Unified Protector, I would like to address one other issue. We have seen a number of reports in recent days of migrants from Libya dying at sea. These are tragic stories. They show the desperation to which people in Libya have been reduced by the Gaddafi regime. The humanitarian crisis is the direct result of the regime's violence. It is still more proof that Gaddafi and his followers have lost all claim to legitimacy. In particular, we are deeply concerned by reports that Gaddafi's regime gunmen forced migrants into at least one boat in recent days, which sank soon afterwards. If confirmed, that would be just another proof of the regime's disregard for human safety and human life. NATO condemns this kind of actions utterly. We have also been asked what action NATO is taking to protect migrant ships at sea. And let me be clear, NATO's mission is to prevent attacks on civilians and civilian-populated areas in Libya. That is what the United Nations Security Council mandated. But while they are carrying out that mandate, ships under NATO command will always respond to calls from ships in distress. This is their duty under the law of the sea, and to suggest that our ship's captains would do otherwise is unfair and is disrespectful. For example, I can tell you that on the 26th of March, NATO ships responded to information that 2 migrant ships with over 500 people on board were in difficulty, and a NATO ship used its helicopter to airlift 2 women and a newborn child to medical help. The ships were then provided direct assistance by the Italian authorities. After this press conference, we will share some pictures with you about that operation. So NATO is doing what it can to render assistance to those in distress at sea, and we will continue to do so. And we will continue also to do everything we can on land to prevent attacks on civilians and civilian-populated areas in Libya. With this, I will hand over to Brigadier General Gabellini in Naples. General.
Good afternoon. I am Brigadier General Claudio Gabellini, and I work in operations planning as part of the Operation Unified Protector located here in Naples. It's my pleasure to provide you with a quick operational update today. In recent briefings, you have heard about the maritime component, and today I will focus on the air campaign perspective. Buon pomeriggio a tutti, sono il generale di brigata Claudio Gabellini dell'Aeronautica Militare Italiana e qui a Napoli mi occupo della pianificazione operativa relativa all'operazione Unified Protector. Oggi ho il piacere di fornirvi alcuni brevi aggiornamenti operativi sulla missione in corso. Siccome durante precedenti comunicati è stata già affrontata e trattata la parte relativa alla componente navale, oggi pomeriggio mi concentrerò principalmente sulla campagna aerea. And now back to English. In the past week alone, we have engaged multiple rocket launcher systems, command and control facilities, anti-aircraft weapons, military bunkers and ammo facilities, tanks and armored fighting vehicles. We are having an effect, and we are diminishing Gaddafi's capacity to issue orders, to field troops, and to fly regime jets. And at sea, we have cleared sea mines laid by pro-Gaddafi forces in the approaches to the port of Misrata on April the 29th. 2 of the mines were destroyed by NATO mine countermeasures vessels, and the third, which has not been found, is no longer considered a serious threat. We've also swept the approaches of Misrata Harbor and consider that there is no immediate mine threat for the time being. Our maritime forces are prepared to respond to any similar threat. We fully recognize how important the port is to the citizens of Misrata. While the decision to open and close the port rests clearly with Misrata port control, we note that since NATO vessels destroyed the mines and cleared the areas, more than 15 vessels have entered the port. Staying with Misrata, we reported on April 29th that we have pushed pro-Gaddafi forces back and that the anti-Gaddafi forces had taken control of most of the city. Since then, pro-Gaddafi forces have continued to shell the citizens of Misrata with longer-range artillery, mortars and rockets, indiscriminately firing high-explosive rounds into the city. Although it's a real challenge for us to strike military targets in and around population centers like Misrata while minimizing the risk to innocent civilians, we've been working hard to prevent attacks by pro-Gaddafi forces. Since the 2nd of May, we have destroyed over 30 military targets in the Misrata area, including a dozen main battle tanks, 3 rocket launcher systems, 3 self-propelled artillery pieces, and 15 ammunition storage sites. And multiple strikes against command and control buildings in both Misrata and Tripoli were conducted. Last night, we engaged a command and control facility in downtown Tripoli. I would now like to show you an example of dynamic targeting. In this video, you will see an airstrike on a building that was identified as a location where pro-Gaddafi forces were shelling and engaging the civilian population from this building. The aircraft identified the target, and I would ask you to note the precision of the strike. Can you go with the video, please? Okay, you can clearly see the buildings engaged. That's the blast, and you can see exactly the aim point was exactly at the building where people were shooting at the civilians. Here's another example, and you've noticed that the buildings behind the building we were looking after have not been touched. So this is a good example of the accuracy and the precision of the strike we carry on, protecting the civilians from being hurt by pro-Gaddafi regime forces. Again, you will see now the 2 buildings right in the middle of the screen. From those buildings, there were snipers fighting at people, and the buildings were empty. In a couple of seconds, you'll see the impact of the weapons. First building, the right, and the second building on the left. The other buildings around it, despite of the smoke, weren't touched. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And also, I can show you this afternoon some sophisticated photos taken from within the aircraft, and these photos are directly showing you which is the precision of the precision-guided munition. We're talking about smart bombs. I'll come to that later on. And could you please now show the pictures, please? No. Okay. Look at the building and look at the yellow circle in the right on the screen. It's written crater behind that. You can see 2 holes. This is exactly the part of the building we wanted to hit. So again, we're not talking about a building. We're talking about the part of the building which was of interest for the attack. So you can also see that there are no other damages to the building. Again, this is another building, and you can see the exact precision of the hole right in the middle of the roof of the building. And I'm talking, of course, about military targets. Next picture, please. Okay, I want to point out here the point that look at the debris on the right of the screen. There should be a red circle around that, difficult to see from here because of the light. But you will see that all the debris were stopped before passing the road, and after the road you could find some civilians buildings. So the debris have not gone far away. They stayed within the perimeter of the military site we were attacking. Next slide, please. Yeah, here you can see a couple of bunkers hit, and you can see the holes right in the middle of the bunkers. And again, you can exactly see that we were not just hitting bunkers, we were looking for some specific bunkers, and that's the result. And you can also see, apart from the hole in the roof, that no damages have been carried out in the surrounding of the bunkers. Since March 31st, NATO and partner aircraft have been conducting an average of 150 sorties a day, all aimed at protecting Libyan civilians from the violence by Gaddafi regime forces. And since the beginning of the operations, nearly 6,000 sorties have been conducted. Over 2,300 of them were strike missions on approved targets. Every day, we observe a changing situation on the ground, and we make adjustments to our operations to ensure that our effort has the maximum effect. All NATO targets are military in nature and have been clearly linked to the Gaddafi regime's systematic attacks on the Libyan population and populated areas. Every strike conducted by NATO and partner forces is necessary, legal, moral, and executed in a manner in which civilian casualties are minimized to the fullest possible extent. Target sets have been chosen by the North Atlantic Council, the NAC, and are only engaged when strictly necessary to achieve the required strategic campaign effect. All these targets, again, are directly linked to attacks or threats of attack against civilians and populated centers, and these targets have been engaged in the most professional way using the state-of-the-art precision-guided munitions. Well, are there challenges and complexities associated with this aspect of the missions? Absolutely. And let me tell you that NATO takes all the measures to ensure that our operations are conducted with the utmost precision and respect for the law. Consider that at every level, from the commander down to the aircraft crew, targets are thoroughly analyzed, constantly assessed, and carefully verified until the very last minute. Our goal in planning and executing all operations is to minimize civilian casualties to the fullest possible extent. And I can say with the highest degree of confidence that the equipment and technology used by the NATO and partner aircraft and aircrew are some of the most sophisticated and precise in the world. We use the most accurate systems and professional crew, and we only use smart weapons. They are all precision-guided munition with very exact guidance systems. Our mission is clear. We are committing to protecting the citizens of Libya until there is no longer a threat of violence towards them. Our mission will be completed when 3 military objectives have been met. First, all attacks and threats against civilians have ended. Second, all regime forces have returned to their bases. And last but not least, full and unhindered access to humanitarian aid is granted. Until these objectives are met, NATO will continue to keep up the pressure on the Gaddafi regime and its forces. Our preference, for the sake of the Libyan people who are enduring hardship and suffering, is that these objectives are met sooner rather than later. There should be no doubt in anyone's mind that our mission is an important one, and we are protecting the people of Libya daily. We've been very clear from the start that our mission is to protect the civilian population, and every day, every strike we conduct makes the difference. And with that, I'm happy to take your questions. Thank you.